we're going to be running a comparison on two different mowing styles. We have the front attached Novacat A10 Crossflow reverse pack, which is a mod available on the Mod Hub. We also have the Lizard Pro Bale, and it will be towing the Lizard RBM 2000 from the Custom Bell Support Pack. So one of the things that really bothers me about mowers is typically you have this piece here in the front, this piece here in the back, and when you make turns, you leave a huge piece of grass that you end up having to back over. But then the mowers don't cut in reverse. Well, this one will. This one will cut in reverse, but it will also attach in this configuration. It'll attach on the front of the mower, and then there's a second drive line you have to make sure you attach from the back mower to the front mower as well as the lines. This is one configuration that I've found on my farm actually is very functional, works very well as it instantly bells and picks up the bell for you. So that's one piece of equipment that we're going to be comparing, and we're going to compare it to the Lizard Agriflex SPB, which is the self-propelled baler by Lizard with the flex mower attachment on the front. So this one, about the only thing it can't do in comparison to the 4-piece equipment train that I have on the other side here, is it can't wrap, which I don't wrap. I don't use the wrapper on this anyway because I go into a fermenting silo, and it can't pick up the bales. So those are the two things that this package can do that this can't do. So we're going to run a quick comparison. I'll show you the pros and cons of each today. I'll show you the costs associated with them, the mods, and some slight changes at the end that I did make in the XMI file to make these pieces of equipment slightly more functional than they are stock. I want to talk about a few pros, first of all, for each tractor before I get into the cons for each tractor. Now, I didn't talk much about the tractor yet because obviously you can use many different tractors for this configuration. Although what I found is that this is so big, it is so heavy that not very many tractors in game, especially none of the base game tractors, will actually handle this configuration. They just aren't powerful enough. You end up going about 5 miles an hour. So the nice thing about this configuration, I did download the Case IH Magnum 400 Twin Turbo Pack. It's a mod, and that was the only tractor I really found with a front mount PTO that could handle this setup, and it does handle it well. So pro number one is speed. We're going up a pretty good hill here, and top speed of this tractor is 50 miles an hour. I found that even going up a pretty good incline like we're doing right now, it's going to maintain a pretty good speed. So getting from work site to work site is going to be pretty fast. The configuration that needs to be noted on this tractor is you'll notice I have the liquid tanks filled with silage. I didn't do that because I don't want to refill silage. I did that because I needed the back weight of the tractor. When the trailer starts to get too many bells on it, it puts down back weight on the back of the baler, which then lifts up on the back of the tractor. So if the front motors are not on the ground, it will actually lift up the back of the tractor, even though I have the wheel weights installed. So I've done everything I can to try to keep the back of the tractor on the ground. It's still a little bit of a problem. That's actually a con. But a pro is that you have a lot of silage additive at all times. There's a ton of silage additive. So going back to the speed, this has a working speed in this configuration of 16 miles an hour, which is actually pretty good mowing. It will pick up everything in one pass, and it doesn't miss grass in the corners like if we were to mount that front and back mower. Plus, if we mounted front and back mower, which you can still do with this mod pack, if you mount front and back mower, you will not be able to put the baler on. So I kind of wish that was there was a hitch on the back of this mower. That way you could do that because it would make this not so ridiculous in front. Because if you like playing realistic, this is actually very unrealistic. There's no way any modern tractor's PTO in the front is going to be able to handle that type of apparatus in the front. But uh, we're not playing exactly realistic here either because the Pro Baler picks up 10-meter swath. So either way. Um, and I really like this setup because it's just bad. It's really nice. It's the tractor's just bad as heck. It's powerful. It doesn't slow down for just about anything. And the other pro of it is the cabin view is really good, which is something we'll talk about in the Agriflex later. So if you do like to play in cabin and use this tractor for this setup, you'll have a good cabin view. Now, a few of the cons, and we'll get into this field over here in just a second. But I want to get into one of the cons real quickly is that if you like to stop or lift your equipment at the end of the row when you make a U-turn, it's a little more difficult in this tractor because if you notice in the upper left-hand corner how many different devices you have to work with. So as we get ready to uh, work with this here, um, you'll notice there's a lot of procedures just to get this thing on the ground. So then we're going to unfold the back mower portion. Then we're going to lower it. Now, the nice thing is when you lower the back portion, it does lower the front portion. Now you have to activate it. Then you're going to have to switch to the front mower. You're going to have to activate the front mower. Now we have to go back here. We have to lower, and then we have to activate that. And then we have to go back to the trailer, and we have to lower that. So now we got everything ready. But once everything's ready, you're pretty much ready to go. So we're going to go ahead and cross into this field here. And I want to just mow a bit so you can see what it actually looks like. And we're not going to do a great job on the lines here because I just want to show you what actually looks like and what it looks like when we get a bell, how it retrieves the bell. And you can see it's actually doing a really nice job. I'm going to point out one more thing in just a second as soon as we finish this row. Now, here's where we start to run into problems with this configuration is here, right there. The baler can't pick up in the corners as much as or as sharp as the mower can turn. So you will miss some doing that, making that type of corner, the 90-degree corner. So unfortunately,
So now, as you
and I
can
didn't
see in
have the auto
the
drop
current
on, but now we
configuration,
have auto
I
drop
don't
on.
have the mowers completely set out to the side. You can kind of see how they drop straight down. I didn't actually extend them fully left, fully right. That's one more piece of the puzzle that you have to set up each time you raise the mowers. So if you fold the mowers back up, you have to extend the right arm and the left arm using crane settings, which is like hold right mouse, extend, hold left mouse, extend, and it's very difficult. So that is one con of this mower that just kind of gets on my nerves because then your lines are off. So this type of turn is more what you have to do to be able to actually pick up everything with the baler. You can see that turn was good. Everything got picked up. Anything sharper than that, and the baler is going to miss it, even with the mod to pick up wide swathing, even with the 10 meters of swathing pickup. So that's the configuration that I've chosen. The reason I chose this configuration is this is one that I found was just about the best you could do other than using an Agriflex. Now, if you're going to use standard in-game mowers, front and back mowers, trailer mowers, I've tried just about everything and nothing really worked well. Everything was either a very small pickup, it just took too many passes to do each step individually. I wanted something that would just work a large area very fast, and this is definitely what I found. Okay, so let's talk now about the Lizard Agriflex. And I'm starting a little bit early on the recording because I want to see the top speed here, 34 with none of the equipment running. Now that's pretty good to get from job site to job site. It doesn't quite meet the 50 of the other piece of equipment, but still pretty good. Now, with that being said, this one has a slightly slower work speed of 13 miles an hour. Now, 13 is still pretty respectable. I can't complain about 13 at all. The advantage of the Pro excuse me, the Agriflex is that it's very maneuverable. So as you can see, we're not going to have the trailer problems. We're not going to have a lot of those other problems. The other pro is that it's very easy to turn on. You simply can lower down one device, turn it on, switch to one device, turn it on. And there you go. And you're already up and running. Now, you do notice I have the 10-meter configuration on for cutting so that it matches the other one. Because typically, if you want to play with realistic, this is only going to cut, I believe it's like 5.1 or 5.3 meters. Where this, I do have it turned on. You can see the guards on there, the warning indicators, markers at 10. So you can see it's cutting the same as the other one. Now, the only thing this one can't do is wrap, which again, I don't use, and it can't pick up. But again, with the other configuration, I generally don't use that either. The advantage of both of these is you don't have to stop. So they both got that going for them when it discharges the bell. Neither one of them you have to stop or slow down because they both have that pre-chamber. So that is really nice. Get a lot of work done really fast. Now, the Agriflex, cost-wise, the configuration and cost of this one is $242,000 and $63,000 for the header. So we're only looking at $305,000. So you could buy two of these for what it's going to cost to buy one of the others. Now, I have them both set the same as far as mowing, how big the bells are rather. And so you can see they're gonna drop about as many bells as each other. And you can see it's pretty easy to drive this. Now, when you want to go into a turn, you want to do a 90-degree turn at the end of this row, you saw that the other one left swath on the ground. The nice thing is that this one won't in this configuration. Now, I do have a mod, which is extra wide swathing, which actually helps with this tremendously. Otherwise, if you do turn too sharp with this, you will get an occasional swath on the ground, but not very bad. So I'm going to turn around here and show you a 90-degree turn like we did with the other one, just in the other direction. So I'd leave a little bit right there of grass, but that was just my driving, but no swath on the ground. You could quickly actually turn around, pick it up. Now, the Lizard Pro Bell, it's very capable. You'll get this job done in no time at all. It's easy to drive. If you miss something, you could really easily just spin around, pick it up. And so this is a great piece of equipment if you mow a lot on your farm. Probably better than trying the other configuration, even if you were to adjust some stuff, move some stuff around, get rid of the trailer. This is still going to be better. Now, the other thing that's worth talking about with the Pro Bell is that the cockpit view isn't that great. If you do like to play cockpit view, the minute you lift this up, you pretty much can't see anything. So just driving it around, it's pretty hard. That's one thing worth noting on the Lizard Pro Bell, or the Lizard Agriflex. And it's easy to drive. It fits more places, but there are some cons of this that are worth noting, and some things that I did to this one that made it quite better. Um, it's kind of rough on hilly maps. The Lizard Agriflex is very underpowered. A lot of people online complain about that, and it gets stuck a lot. So if you have a hill that comes to a V at the bottom, the mower will high center and you'll get stuck. And sometimes the tractor is incapable of getting itself out, even if you lift the header. So that's one thing worth talking about, because that can be a very frustrating at times, especially if AI is driving it. AI tends to get this tractor stuck a lot. There's a low silage amount, and the bell net isn't that large. So if you are setting it with AI to do it on a large field, just know that have the settings to where it's going to stop. Otherwise, you're just going to have a bunch of swaths all over your field as soon as you run out of netting. So that's also worth noting. And then the AI, something that really bothers me about this, when AI is working a field, it leaves swaths at the beginning and ending of every row. And they're each about 5 feet long. You end up having to go back and pick those up later. I don't know why it's doing that. I've tried course play as well to like alleviate that, to get rid of that, and it still does it. So something about how this picks up, it just doesn't do a very good job. It leaves swaths like that at the end of every single row. But if you don't mind going back and picking those up later, AI does do a great job of driving this. See that? That's about the size of the swath that it leaves usually at the beginning of every single row. So you end up having to run down each row sideways to pick all that up. Now, one thing that I did do on this, as I already mentioned, I enabled extra wide swathing, so that it can kind of be on that turn right there. It would have left some swath on the ground as a stock Agriflex. Quick maneuver like that would have left swath on the ground, almost guaranteed. Not a lot, but it would have been there. And I'm kind of bothered by that. Now, the other thing I did do to this that made it a much better tractor, and you kind of see how far back it picks up. That's about the swath it leaves when AI will drive. It will then pick up and it will shut everything off, and it will go to the next row and it will leave that at the end of every row. So it's quite a bit of grass by the time you get done. So you can adjust the course play to pick up your tools late, and it makes it a little smaller, but it's still there. But anyway, so the key thing that I did to this was I went in and edited the XML file. And one of the things that on the Lizard Agriflex that people complained about a lot was they complained that it was underpowered and getting stuck and whatnot. So the creators actually responded and said, look, it has to do with the dynamics of the gravity effect on weight in the game's engine. There's nothing we can do. I kind of disagree, because I went into the XML file and I went ahead and made a horsepower change and torque curve change on this one. And all I did simply was double it. So this one I'm working with now is 500 horsepower with the torque curve appropriately managed for 500 horsepower, which is just right before it. You just go in and you just, instead of a factor of 1.0 on the torque curve, you just put 2.0. You don't need to change every setting, just change it to 2.0. As soon as you change it to 2.0, you save it as a custom file, custom mod of your own, change the name. That way it doesn't update and remove that. And you have a whole different beast. This thing now doesn't really get stuck. It doesn't slow down on hills. I know several of the hills that I would work with this tractor on, it would slow down to 2-3 miles an hour previously. Now it doesn't do that anymore. So I have the full capabilities of the tractor, and it works like it should. I didn't overpower it. I didn't change the speed. I didn't increase the speed. I left everything else as is, because I try to be somewhat realistic, as I have this thing cutting at 10 meters instead of 5. But at the same time, I try not to get too crazy. So I didn't want this thing to have 1,000 horsepower and zoom all over the map. So this is where this should have been. This should have 500 horsepower. And the only other thing is sometimes the rear end, if one of the tires gets high centered, it's got an open differential. It'll spin one wheel, the other wheel gets stuck, and you have to do some maneuvering. With the 500 horsepower, it does have enough strength to get itself out of those situations. So let me know your thoughts. Let me know which one you prefer. Let me know if I missed anything and if you'd like to see any other comparisons. But that is the comparison between these two different types of mowers and which one works better. Let me know what you think. As for now, I'm probably going to stick with the Lizard Agriflex, as it just seems much more capable. And thanks for watching.